Okay.
We got your thumbnail.
Alrighty, welcome everybody back to the team. Fuck, I don't like how I did that.
Try again.
Let's try that again. Yeah, I got this. You know what? Fuck it. This is the intro. Welcome to the Packers team preview. As you can tell, this is going to be the episode of all time. I am joined today by my fellow Run the North co-host, Mr. Jake Talk Sports, and then of course below us, Mr. NFLSteven. Doesn't have the NFL in his name. He's just Steven today.
Yeah.
But before we get into this and start talking about that team, how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm trying this prime. It's kind of mid, but
What flavor is it?
strawberry watermelon.
That sounds like it would be mid.
I thought it'd be really good because I usually like pink flavored stuff.
That's
But
valid.
it's kind of mid.
I think this might be the earliest I've ever recorded a video ever. Granted, it's 1
sun's
o'clock.
out,
Right, the sun's out.
We recorded Run the North at 1 once.
Did
There
we?
was an afternoon. That was literally last week.
I thought that was at 2.
It was at 1.
Oh, well,
I just heard you can see the Mitch Trubisky jersey.
yeah, you can see the Mitch
The Mitch
Trubisky
Trubisky
jersey.
jersey.
Just
Yikes.
further hammering in the fact that Mitchell Trubisky exists.
He's lurking.
He is always lurking.
Always there.
But speaking of always lurking, let's go ahead and talk about the Green Bay Packers, because that's what we are here to do. And just looking back at last season to start things off, it was a weird year for Green Bay, because we all know the Packers had high expectations going into the season, as they tend to, and they did not quite meet them. They went 8-9, ended up as third in the NFC North, missed the playoffs. They were 5-4 at home, 3-5 on the road, but they did end the season 4-1. They had a pretty nice end to the year. So just kind of to kick things off here, how did you guys feel about last season? Like, were you extremely disappointed? Did you low-key expect it but didn't want to say anything? Or was this just like you finally understanding what the other 3 teams in the division feel like constantly?
No, honestly, I didn't expect it. I kind of expected the back-to-back MVP to play like MVP level. So it was tough to watch, genuinely.
Yeah, no, like I wasn't as disappointed just because before the season, like I think I said it on the last team preview last year. Like I had them at like 8 or 9 wins. Like I did not think they were gonna like make some huge run or anything. I was skeptical of the defense still because they were talented on paper, but the Packers defense has been talented on paper for years and years and years, and they've never really gotten it done. I didn't like Joe Barry. That was an issue. We had to pay Jair a bunch of money. We didn't really know what he was going to be. Rodgers had 0 weapons, and that usually wasn't an issue. But, I mean, clearly it was this year just because of how Watson struggled in the first half of last year. But I don't know. I think that while I was kind of hoping to be proven wrong by them and have them get 11 or 12 wins, I mean, it wasn't entirely surprising. Rodgers was frustrated with the way they were play calling. The weapons weren't doing what he wanted them to do. He was on his way out. We kind of knew this. Like, he didn't want to be in Green Bay that much and everything like that. And I mean, I was happy with the way they ended the season. If that defense continues to play the way to begin this year that they did last year, I mean, I'd be pretty happy about that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely say I agree with Steve, and I was really shocked that the Packers performed the way they did. I was one of the people that was a real big believer in their defense because of what they brought to the table on paper. And obviously that didn't work out. I think injuries were a massive factor in that, with Rashawn Gary missing half the year. And
injuries and Joe Barry, man.
Yeah, injuries and Joe Barry, exactly. And then Jair having that weird start of the season slump where he looked awful the first half of the year, and then the second half he was playing like himself again. It was just a weird year as a whole for the Packers. And then obviously, like Steven mentioned, you had the back-to-back MVP come out and play like ass. And, that was what, a thumb injury, I think? It was something on his hand.
Even before the thumb injury, he was mid.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say he was even like bad. He was just so.
I think after he got hurt, by Rodgers'
yeah.
standards, he was ass.
By Rodgers standards, it was horrible.
Yeah.
But in the general quarterback standards, he was just mid.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I get being disappointed with last year, but also kind of like in hindsight, I guess I understand kind of feeling that expectation coming on, because I feel like a lot of people, again, myself included, really underestimated the idea of Rodgers having no one to throw to. Like, he's always had at least something. He had Jordy Nelson, he had Donald Driver, he had Devontae Adams, and then last year he had nothing. So it does change things, despite how talented Rodgers is and how he's able to, elevate the receivers around him. He really was in hell when it comes to weapons. But Jake mentioned, and then obviously I mentioned earlier, the late season surge. So is that something you guys are like really buying into, that this is something that can hopefully carry over into next season? Or do you think this was just the team kind of trying to pull something out at the end to make it feel like a season that mattered?
I'm not buying it. Me personally, I'm not. But I think I just have low expectations anyways. So.
I would buy it if Aaron Rodgers was still a Packer. Like, if Aaron Rodgers was still on the Packers, I'd probably have this team at 13 wins with how their schedule looks this year. I think the defense is going to be good this year. I think they're going to be solid as long as they can all stay healthy. Rashawn Gary's coming back. They just added Lucas Van Ness. They added Colby Wood, and they added all these guys on the defensive line. Quay Walker and Devontae White have another year. It really all just comes down to Jordan Love. I mean, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson are both going to develop, and Musgrave and Kraft are both there. We run some sick 2 tight end sets with them. I mean, they have, like, obviously the offensive line isn't terrible. I mean, they have all the pieces to be a playoff team. It's just Jordan Love. We don't know what he is, right? So if this was Aaron Rodgers, this would probably be like a 11 to 13 win team in my eyes. But I don't know, man. I don't.
And I kind of want to hit on that for a minute, because I think, me personally, just kind of in the grand scheme of things, I'm not really – I know this is probably one of your questions. But my expectation for Jordan really is to just be as good as Rodgers was last year. Because if he's worse, you're kind of hitting rock bottom. But if he's like just as good, then he's mid-level quarterback and you can expect improvement. If he's better, then I think we got our guy again. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's how I viewed it so far.
Yeah, that's absolutely valid. For me, I'm with Jake. I do think if Rodgers was with this team and you look at the late season surge that they had, especially defensively, you're really optimistic about this year. But because you have this question mark in Jordan Love, who obviously we'll talk about here more in a little bit, it's kind of tough to get super excited about it. Like, there's a good chance the defense can play well if everybody's healthy. I know Rashawn Gary is coming off his injury. Is he going to be available week 1? Or is it like a couple weeks into the season he'll be back? Okay. So you're not going to have him to start out, which is obviously going to be incredibly rough, because when you don't have one of the 5 or 10 best pass rushers in football on your team for a short period of time, it's going to suck. But I get where people can look at this optimistically, but I don't want to get too crazy with the Packers because of not knowing what Jordan Love is. And I promise I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible with that, because good Lord, I want this guy to fail, respectfully. But there is a world where Jordan Love's pretty good. And again, we'll talk about that here more in a little bit. But just kind of looking at some of the stats from last year, specifically in EPA per play and then in points scored, point differential, things like that. This team was 10th in rushing EPA per play, 16th in passing. So kind of like Steven said with the pass game, right around the middle, pretty mediocre. And then you look at the defense. The run defense was absolutely atrocious. 28th in rush defense EPA per play, 11th in coverage EPA per play. And then we look at points. They were 14th in points scored with 370, 17th in points allowed with 371, giving them a -1 point differential, which I find hysterical. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a point differential cut that close to where, this team, and I know there's a certain someone that Jake and I talk to quite often. It's going to be kind of pissed off about what I'm about to say. This team also almost feels like the Bizarro Vikings in the sense that there was a lot of close games. They just didn't have luck on their side, despite, kind of lacking talent. Because if we're being 100% honest, I'm sure you two will agree with me. It's not like the Vikings were some super team last year. They just kind of came up when, times got tough and they had a little luck on their side. And the Packers feel like they could have done the same thing, just didn't have the luck on their side with it.
Mhm.
But just kind of wrapping up last season, obviously the big thing coming out of last year is that it was Aaron Rodgers' last season in Green Bay. So just kind of as a whole with Rodgers, how are you guys feeling right now? Are you happy he's gone? Was it time for him to go? Are you upset? What's the vibe right now?
I'm happy he's gone. If I'm being completely honest, like as much as I love him as a football player, all he really brought in this last couple of years was unnecessary stress and drama to the team. And to be completely honest, his value, what we got for him this year, was the most we were going to get for him in these next few years. If we'd waited another year and he had another down-ish season by his standards, the Jets weren't going to be like, oh, here, swap a first-round pick with us, or here, take this extra second, or whatever, or take this conditional second. They probably, the Jets probably would have not even gone after him because their timeline just would have shifted that much, So I think that yeah, it was a good package for him. I liked what we ended up getting out of him. And again, it was just time for him to go. I mean, he's been there a long time, and these last few years were a pretty rough road off the field. And last year was obviously pretty rough on the field. So that was kind of like the last straw, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, I wish him all the luck in New York. But if he fails, okay.
Also, another thing, I know he was the back-to-back MVP. His contract fucking sucks.
Yeah, his contract is terrible. Yeah, that's also another thing. He's making so much money this year. Not from us, but he's making so much money this year.
Yeah. So, Steven, how do you feel about Rodgers being gone?
Good.
You don't have any other thoughts? Just you're good with it?
Last year he pissed me off, so I'm ready for the next guy.
Honestly, that's valid. Obviously, looking at it from a Bears fan perspective, I'm ecstatic that he's gone. Saying that now Jordan Love will go 2-0 against the Bears next year somehow, some way.
Listen, I just think the amount of times. Okay, first of all, in week 1 he did this against the Vikings. He just said, "Fuck it, Randall Cobb down there somewhere," and then Harrison Smith picked him off. And then, oh my God, the amount of times he did that to Allen Lazard. It was just so frustrating. Like, I was trying to watch film yesterday on these games, and the amount of times he would just say, okay, Allen Lazard is like maybe this open. Let's just throw it, even though this guy's on a drag or this guy's on a slant.
Yeah.
Just so frustrating.
Fuck it, Randall Cobb down there somewhere.
Yeah.
That is the Rodgers MO.
Times.
We're not going to talk about who that's worked against.
Okay, wait. I didn't even remember the Bears one. This worked 4 times.
Yeah. But it was definitely time for Rodgers to go. Like, Rodgers did not want to be in Green Bay anymore. That was incredibly apparent. I think even before he went on his darkness retreat and spoke to the Hat Man, it was pretty obvious to anyone following the situation. He did not want to stick around in Green Bay. He did not have any interest in retooling or rebuilding. He wanted to go somewhere in his final couple seasons and try to win a ring. That's what's happening in New York. Of course, he had to bring literally everyone he's ever played with ever along with him, except for Jordy Nelson, who thankfully has decided he has no interest in coming back, because why would he? But you know damn well Rodgers is calling him to this day, begging him to come back.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, it was absolutely time for Green Bay to go on. And like Jake said, that package they got for him was almost certainly the most you're going to get out of Rodgers at any point, in the future, because if he does have another down year, his trade value is going to plummet. And even if he has another good year, he's going to be another year older. There's no guarantee he'll want to play anymore. So
it hasn't been a guarantee he wants to play anymore for the past 6 seasons. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know people get mad when you talk about it, but Rodgers is a diva, man.
He is.
He is the drama. And I know there's a lot of Packers fans out there that don't want to acknowledge it, and I think it's pretty apparent to anyone who has any idea of how to read a room that Rodgers is causing a lot of drama anywhere he goes. Maybe it won't happen in New York because he's going to be there for such a short period of time. But in Green Bay, especially like Steven said, the last 5 or 6 years, it has just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And thankfully, it seems like Jordan Love is a lot quieter and not quite
A little bit more
the
reserved, yeah.
right, not quite the character, so to speak, that Rodgers was. So hopefully, you'll be able to avoid your quarterback giving you a panic attack every 5 minutes and making you want to rip your hair out. Because the man's talented.
He'll do that in a
Good
different
Lord.
way.
That's true. Okay.
Love will probably do that on the field as opposed to
Maybe.
off of it.
We don't know.
Yeah, but
You know,
we'll see.
There
At
is
least this
potential.
year.
There's a
yeah.
lot of people that say that
Love,
there's
yeah.
just no shot that he's going to be good. There is potential.
Yeah, no. Anyone saying there's no shot Love will be good is either
You
trolling
cannot.
or an idiot.
You literally physically cannot make a final decision on him yet.
No.
Either way,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can't. So I'm sure we'll talk about him more later. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
He's going to play more than 1.5 games. So
Right. So, moving on to free agency, which, if you guys don't know what that is, being Packers fans, that's when teams sign players that their contracts expired. I know you guys don't like
Charles
do that a
Woodson.
lot. Okay, that's like one time the Packers have ever participated in free agency. I forgot every like 3 or 4 years they come out of the woodwork, spend like $80 million on one player. But either way, the point is, Green Bay does not participate in free agency. It's not their thing. So this is something I've always been curious about. As Packers fans, how do you guys feel about that approach to team building? Are you happy you're not spending a ton in free agency? Does it frustrate you? Is it kind of variable depending on the year? How does it make you feel?
I mean, me personally, it's fine because most of the time we just draft all right. So it's like eventually we have a decent team. It's like every few years we're like, damn, they might be Super Bowl contenders. But like there's those like couple years where it's we're good enough to make the playoffs, but yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. There haven't really been a lot of guys who the Packers could justify spending a ton of money on that really would have helped in most situations. Like a lot of the times the Packers have wanted to be aggressive in free agency, they've gotten outbid, and not having an owner kind of limits you money-wise. Like as much, like we know this. If your owner is rich, you can spend more money on players. If your owner isn't rich, you can't. Right? We know this. Like your owner sets it, and they don't have an owner, so they don't really have that kind of level to set their money line at here. And I don't know. I just feel like any guy that would have gone to get that, we would have been like, let's go. We also would have looked at the contract and been like, oh, like this is not good. Right? We're paying them a lot of money. Like Julio Jones would have been fantastic. We probably would have paid him too much. Mm-hmm. Odell would have been fantastic. We probably would have paid him too much. Like, and I mean, this could be different now because a lot of the time when you looked at those big free agent wide receivers, you're like, well, we have Rodgers. We don't need them, right? And most of the time that was true. We don't know what it's like with Jordan Love. Maybe they'll be more aggressive next free agency depending on what happens this year. But then they went and drafted two guys who have serious potential at receiver in Watson and Dobbs and Jaden Reed now and Musgrave and Kraft and everybody. They just have a really young core that they're going to want to develop. So I don't hate the strategy. I mean, obviously, you can be like, well, where's their Super Bowl ring then? But, like, honestly, you know, we've been super competitive still without basically touching anybody in free agency outside of guys re-signing it or letting them walk. So, honestly, I don't hate that strategy at all. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, historically speaking, it's worked for Green Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of years where you look at their roster and you're like, they're going to suck, you know? And even this year, where this is probably like the worst Green Bay has been, the most down bad they've been, you're still not looking at this roster and saying, this team sucks. You know, this is like a 4-win team. No one's ever saying that about the Packers, and there's reason for that. And I think, you know, I'm not saying every team should think like this, but not overpaying in free agency, because at the end of the day, when you sign someone in free agency, you are overpaying. Objectively speaking, almost like 99% of the time, you're giving a guy more money than he's worth because you're outbidding other teams and he's gauging his value against the market, things like that, which is fine. That's part of how team building works. But when you're not overpaying guys, you can afford to retain more players. And, it feels very much like the Packer way to have your homegrown talent just kind of stick around for long periods of time. So it's different, but I understand it. And, Jake brought up a great point about the Packers not having an owner, so it makes things tougher. And this wasn't one of my questions I had written down, but I do want to ask, do you guys think that's weird? Like, is that just a dumb gimmick to you guys, or do you take pride in the fact that, like, your team is fan owned?
I think it's cool, and I think it's, like, a unique thing. But, like, I think it's okay to have around until it legitimately, like, is a detriment to us. Like, at the current moment, like, it hasn't been, like, there hasn't been a situation where we've been like, our downfall is solely being caused by the fact that we have a bunch of bozos in Wisconsin owning us, right? Like, that's the thing. I don't know. It might have to change at some point, but I think it's cool. I think it's unique. I think it feeds into the team's history. I don't think there's any reason to be mad at it right now. I like it. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a cool little thing that we do.
But I'm on the same page.
That's valid. Now, how are you guys going to feel if Justin Fields beats y'all in week 1 and then buys stake in the Green Bay Packers?
I am a Justin Fields believer, so I'll be okay with that, honestly. Yeah. Honestly, like, I genuinely think that they're going to, like, beat the brakes off of us in week 1. I'm almost positive.
Like that.
Because of how good that rushing attack's going to be in Chicago. I'm kind of nervous about that rush defense without Rashawn Gary.
Right.
So I feel like Justin Fields is probably going to go for, like, 110 rushing yards against us. I'm like, that is one thing that's been in the back of my mind. I've been doing my Packers record predictions, like running the sim, and every single time I look at that week 1 game, I'm just like, ugh, like, this is a tough draw.
It's going to be a rough start of the year.
It's going to be a rough start, I believe, because I think week 2 is a winnable game. I think it's the Falcons or somebody like that.
Are the Falcons a winnable game?
All right, I've seen people on Twitter say they're a 12-win team. I can call Jackson out. I don't know what his basis is, but he is him as a 12-win team. I don't think he's that crazy because I didn't know how easy their schedule was. But yeah, we have, like, the Falcons week 2, so I don't know. But
I'm just teasing, by the way. You can absolutely beat the Falcons.
Yeah, we can beat.
It's not a given, but
it's not a gaming game. But yeah, I don't know. But to answer the question, I wouldn't be like, Justin Fields is a running back. That's why he beat us. Like, if he didn't run so much, we probably would have beat him. Like, yeah, that's why he does run so much. Like,
right, exactly. How dare he do something
something he's good at? Stop
how
this
dare
immediately.
No, I like Justin Fields. I just hate the Bears. So
that's valid. Like,
but I honestly, I don't want this to sound like Bear slander. I don't think that they're gonna, like, you guys are gonna, like, own us these next few years. I think we'll still find a way to split at some point. I feel like we'll end up splitting most years. Yeah,
I think
that rivalry is so historic that
yeah. I think now that the Bears have a serious team, like, especially their front office, like Ryan Poles, I don't know how you guys feel about him. That's obviously a whole other discussion, but yeah. I'm really confident in what he's doing. He hasn't done anything yet where I'm like, oh my God, this dude has no fucking clue what he's doing. So I think because you have that going on, and obviously the Packers still having a solid team, having a lot of young pieces, I kind of agree that it'll go back and forth. I think it'll be really competitive. And I think the next decade or so, assuming all goes on the trajectory it's currently headed, we're going to see people start to be like, oh yeah, the Bears and the Packers are a rivalry again. And not that they ever stopped being one. Yeah, just because it's one-sided doesn't mean it's not a rivalry, because if you pay attention, these two teams legitimately fucking hate each other. Just because one's beating the other doesn't mean that the bad
rivalry isn't always like the scoreboard. It's like the fact that they like are
the actual
trying to murder each other on the
animosity
football field.
And feeling towards another team. Like, you look at the fans will probably fight each other half the time.
Like, I've never met a Bears fan I don't hate.
Yeah, I've never met a Packers fan I don't hate. So same with the Vikings, honestly.
Yeah, throw them right in there.
Yeah, and then the Lions. They're
never met a fan, so
yeah.
I don't think I've met a Lions fan.
I know. No. Like, I'm talking shit. They probably have the best team in the NFC North right this second. I don't think I'm crazy in saying that.
Some people would say that you're wrong, but I don't.
Well, I know who would say I'm wrong. But it's so funny that, like, for all these years, the Lions have kind of been like for lack of better words, like the special needs little brother of the NFC North. And now all of a sudden they've ascended to being like the top dog on campus.
Yeah. Okay,
his-
I can ask this question because this is a neutral NFC North episode.
Okay.
Did the Vikings get worse this offseason, yes or no? In you guys' eyes. We don't have to go off on a full tangent, but I'm just trying to win this argument.
It's tough for me to say because I mean, objectively speaking, they lost talent, but a lot of that talent was kind of old and decrepit. Like Eric Kendricks isn't a top 5 linebacker anymore. Adam Thielen's fallen off a cliff. Dalvin Cook was awful last year.
They're just as good.
Yeah, I would say they kind of stayed the same, but I do think their record and their season will be a lot less fruitful because, like I said, I am under the impression that last year was a lot of luck almost.
It was a lot of luck, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you stayed the same, you got worse. So I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. I'll put it this way: they definitely didn't get better.
No.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it. They certainly did not get better. But speaking of losing players, the Packers obviously had themselves quite a few notable names that took off this season. I already talked about Aaron Rodgers. So other than Rodgers, out of everyone the Packers lost, who hurts the most? And I don't need it to be like, oh, because he did this, and this last year. Just like personally. Because some of these guys are like long-time Packers.
Yeah, I know what Steven's answer is.
Steven, just go ahead. We know who it is.
It's obviously Randall Cobb, man. That's my childhood guy. I'm so sad he's not a Packer, but it's happened before.
Tough.
So this
I was gonna say this is the second time you've lost.
Second time he's left, yeah.
Did it hurt worse the first time or the second time?
The first time.
Yeah.
Personally, it's probably Tunyon. I was a big fan of Tunyon I thought he was just a cool dude. Tunyon or
Tunyon too. His name was so fun to say because I just called him Bobby Onion Tunyon, but I'm never gonna call him that again.
Big Bob Tunyon.
Tunyon or Lazard. I liked Lazard too. I thought Lazard was a cool guy.
Really,
super good run blocker too.
Amos.
I don't care much about Lazard. I'm not affecting too much on the field. Like whatever. Tunyon, I actually quite liked him as a player. I thought he was actually pretty decent. But I'm very satisfied with what they did to fill in that hole after he left. So I can't be too mad at that. But yeah, I'll say Tunyon's my answer.
I'll say this: I'm not satisfied with how they refilled Amos leaving, or yes, they just didn't re-sign him rather than. I mean, they signed Jonathan Owens
and Anthony Johnson in the second is not second.
Seventh, yeah.
Seventh, one of the top safeties in the class in the seventh is pretty.
Yeah,
I would say that's a pretty good deal, but we'll see how he turns out. Yeah,
it just sucks because he's like a captain. I always thought he's pretty good. So.
Yeah, but
fuck Amos though. Respect.
Cry.
Respectfully.
He talked to us rudely after he left. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I remember the reply. Someone was like, "So glad you're not a bear." He's like, "Me too."
Yeah, he was rude. I mean, it does make me feel better knowing that we got Tunyon, and Tunyon grew up a Bears fan, is a lifelong Bears fan, and now he's home.
Now he's our tight end one. Look at the way the cycle works.
No.
Don't sleep on him though. He's
no, I'm not.
No, he's good. Yeah, I think he's okay.
Komet's my guy.
Come back to me when Komet's had an 11 touchdown season, buddy. That's what I thought.
How many he wasn't far off last year, like 8 or 9.
I was gonna say.
Let me double check.
The second I said that, I thought to myself, "Wait, did he have 11 touchdowns last season?"
Yeah, because Komet was like top 5 in touchdowns for tight ends. He had 7.
Oh, yeah. Come back to me when he hits 11, buddy. Then we'll talk.
He will this year. He will this year.
And we'll talk.
That's so funny considering one of the tight ends you drafted is just Diet Komet, but we'll talk about that in a second.
That is true.
Looking at some of these other free agents y'all let walk, though, like you said, Adrian Amos is obviously gone. That's kind of the big one. Played over 90% of snaps for y'all at safety.
Yeah.
Mercedes Lewis, who is still in the NFL as one of the best run-blocking tight ends in football. God love him.
Yeah,
almost 40 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby, he's gone.
That one stings.
Yeah.
That one does hurt just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Robert Tunyon, like we mentioned, Chris Barnes left. I forget where he went.
Arizona.
Yeah,
no? Yeah.
that sounds right.
Arizona, yeah.
Rodgers obviously left. Lazard obviously left, and then Cobb obviously left. Then you've got Vernon Scott, Jaron Reed, and Dean Lowry. Do you guys care about any of those three?
Dean Lowry.
Viking, so fuck him.
Yeah. Dean
That's
Lowry
true.
also isn't terrible.
Yeah, no, he's
He
solid.
was pretty solid depth at the on the defensive line. So I'm glad that they made some moves to replace him. But again, like in the moment, I was like, do we really want to get rid of depth at a position that we're very, very shallow at? I don't know.
Right.
They went and drafted like 3 of them, so
Yeah, we'll be fine. But yeah.
And then you look at the guys they retained. Obviously, Aaron Jones and Jordan Love are the big two there. Corey Ballantyne, Dalen Leavitt, I think is how you say that
special
name.
teams guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those Rich Versace guys, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad he's
which
on
is
the
good.
team.
Keyshawn Nixon. Keyshawn
Yeah,
Nixon is my favorite re-sign.
Keyshawn Nixon. I was just about to say Justin Fields' son. Mm-hmm. Never forget Fields broke that man's ankles. I'm going to play that clip right here. Just sit
They were
and watch
signed.
it.
They signed a long
Rodgers.
snapper. Signed a long
Mhm.
snapper from the Rams.
Yeah, Orzek.
Orzek. They signed Orzek.
Mhm.
Love to
Where's
see
Jack
it.
Coco?
They also retained Joshua Neiman, which I
They
just
did.
want to say I didn't know until I was preparing for this video that it was Joshua and not
It is.
Joshua.
It is Joshua.
Joshua is a crazy
Joshua-
name.
It's a bad name and he's a bad player. So
I don't
here
think
we
it's
are.
that bad of a name. I think it's
Joshua.
interesting.
I just want to
I
be
think
Joshua.
it's interesting.
I would just want to be Joshua.
Zach Thomas taking his job.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
probably. I
know
like
why
Zach
we
Thomas.
decided to spend money on him, but
I don't know. I mean, the Packers know what they're doing on the offensive line.
It's true.
which
He's
we're
good
not gonna
depth.
we're not gonna
Right.
talk about who runs their offensive line. But their offensive line is pretty solid, so I don't blame them for wanting to retain him. Jake, do you not know your own offensive line coach? It's Dick
Oh, it's
Butkus'
Buckus.
nephew.
Yes. I didn't make. I knew who it was, but I was trying to figure out why you hated him.
Yeah, he's
I was
a
like, why
traitor.
is he trash talking?
He's the Butkus that's not
now?
invited to Butkus family dinner on Thanksgiving until he pulls his full career arc and comes to the good side and works for us.
Not happening. And you never got Jenkins, just saying.
Okay. Well, yeah, you guys also extended Elgton Jenkins. That was obviously a big move.
Big move. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Bears fans
One
were
of the
so
most
convinced they were
versatile linemen in football. Well,
He's
I didn't
very
think the
good.
Packers would care enough to retain him.
Honestly,
If he
neither
hit-
did I.
Listen, if
I
he hit
wanted
the
them
open
to.
market, I guarantee you Ryan Poles hands that man a blank check.
Probably, but he didn't, because the Packers were like, "Oh,
top
let's
10
be
guard
smart."
at least.
Yeah, we actually have a player with talent. Maybe we keep him.
Maybe we actually hang on to this one, guys. I don't know.
Maybe. Which is ironic that I ever doubted it, considering we were just talking about the Packers. All they do is
Just hang
retain
on to their homegrown talent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The irony in that is great.
Mm-hmm.
But where they get all that homegrown talent is the NFL draft, obviously. And if I
Yes.
do say so myself, the Packers kind of killed it. There
They
was
cooked.
one pick that was certainly a decision.
Round 5, pick 149.
But other than that, they had a pretty good draft. So who was your favorite player that the Packers picked?
Ooh.
Jaden Reed.
Why is that?
He's built like Randall Cobb.
Oh,
You think
no.
he plays like Randall Cobb?
No, but I think he's built exactly like Randall Cobb.
Valid.
Yeah. My favorite, like, generic answer is Luke Musgrave. I love me some Luke Musgrave. I was a big fan of him coming out of the draft. But I think my dark horse pick, a guy that I really like, is Carl Brooks in the 6th. I like Carl Brooks a good bit. Him and like Anthony Johnson in the 7th is another good one. Dontavian Wicks in the 5th is a good pick. Like, honestly,
I don't know
like,
a whole lot about Wicks. I watched him a little bit, like for my video I did on NFC North draft grades, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a Wicks enjoyer.
He's got this crazy touchdown catch. I don't even know if I can describe it. Jake probably knows what I'm talking about. One of the most insane catches I've ever seen.
He's got some hands on him, dude. I'm excited to see if he gets some reps or not. But yeah, I would say basic boring answer is Luke Musgrave for me.
Yeah. And I get that. I mean, with Musgrave, you're obviously looking at a super, super athletic tight end that the sky is the absolute limit for the dude. He's what, like 6'6", 240 some pounds, really nice route runner, super quick, has a lot of tools, great catch radius. He's just the type of guy that, like, he wasn't super productive in college because he was hurt, and you want to kind of iron out the kinks. But goddamn, he's a good tight end prospect. And then with Jaden Reed, like Steven said, also a fantastic fit. I know you said he looks like Randall Cobb and is built like Randall Cobb, but to me as a player reminds me a lot of Tyler Lockett
Yeah.
in the sense that he's just he's small, but he's this really toolsy outside receiver that's great at beating press with his release and just creating separation downfield, tracks the ball incredibly well.
I think he'll be really solid.
Yeah,
I think
which is interesting that he's there because one of the big issues with Jordan Love coming out of college was throwing outside the numbers downfield.
Yep.
Like the man could not hit a fade route to save his life. So Jaden Reed was probably the best receiver in the class to pick to bail a quarterback out in that situation, where Jordan Love can just say, fuck it, Jaden's down there somewhere, and Reed will make some crazy Terry McLaurin-esque circus catch.
He's fast.
And no, he's incredibly quick. He's just one of those guys that, like, you're going to do anything except throw to him over the middle of the field, because if homeboy gets hit, he's going to die.
Most likely, yeah.
But other than that, now my favorite pick that y'all made is actually the other tight end, and that's Tucker Kraft.
I like.
Yeah.
I love me some Kraft.
Yeah, who
Of
like
course,
I was.
the Packers would choose a guy named Kraft.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly fitting. I didn't realize that until just now. That is an
They
incredibly
really
fitting last name.
drafted 2 top 5 tight ends in the class. That's crazy.
Did I have them as top 5? I think I did.
I had them both top 5 for sure.
I'm almost positive.
I think I had
did.
Musgrave. I think I had them 4 and 5. I don't remember the
Put it
order.
this way, I had them both above the tight end the Lions took.
Laporta? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were 4 and 5 for me.
They were 4 and 5 for me too.
Yeah.
Behind
Was ours the same? Was it Mayer, Kincaid, Washington, Musgrave, Kraft?
Mayer, Kincaid, Washington. And then I don't remember who I had ahead of who, but it was Kraft, Musgrave in some order.
But yeah, Kraft is one of those guys that just feels like he belonged in the NFC North in some way, shape, or form.
Somebody had to take him.
Yeah, like he's just such a tough, gritty, like hard-nosed blocker that's super, super smart, understands blocking schemes incredibly well, sneaky athletic. I mean, literally, this guy is Diet Cole Kmet. He's not a great separator. He's not the best route runner in the world, which are two things that Cole Kmet struggled with coming out of college, and now, as he's progressed in the NFL, has gotten better with. So I'm calling him Diet Cole Kmet, like current Cole Kmet, but coming out of college, they were almost the exact same prospect. Like, I see a lot of similarities in the two of them. Cole might have been, like, a tweak quicker. I'd have to check the 40 times. I don't know for sure, but, like, he's just he's not a fast tight end is what I'm trying to say here, but he's a fantastic security blanket. So if Jordan Love, 3rd and 2, just needs to get the ball to somebody who's big, is going to have this great catch radius, is going to hang on to the ball, Tucker Kraft is a pick 10 times out of 10. And obviously the Packers like live in 12 personnel. So him and Musgrave on the field at the same time is going to be a ton of fun.
I think Musgrave is going to play Allen Lazard role.
I can see that. Yeah, where he's like a wing player more so than a tight end.
Yeah.
And that would make a ton of sense.
Also, Kraft and Kmet ran the exact same 40.
They did?
Well, Kraft was he was like a 4.6, he was a 4.69, and I think, and Kmet was a 4.7. So they basically ran the exact same 40.
Kmet's faster. Fuck the 40 time.
He's even faster than Cole Kmet, actually. So Cole Kmet's Diet Tucker Kraft.
Okay, but Cole Kmet does literally everything else better, so I don't want to hear it.
For now.
I mean, yeah, who knows? Development's a thing.
I mean, hey, one of them's got to work out, right? I mean, there's 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. But then you look at the rest of the draft class, obviously going Lucas Van Ness in the 1st round. Surprisingly, I don't think I saw a singles Packers fan that was upset with that, even though I know y'all, someone like JSN or whatever. Van Ness made a ton of sense for Green Bay.
They invested a lot of capital in receiver last year. Yeah, and they obviously had plans to do the same for the rest of this year. So I think it was good. I mean, I was a Lucas Van Ness pick defender. I had to go on Twitter and fight off all the people who were like, "It's not good value. You can't do that. You can't take him at 15 or with 13, wherever they
Value
took
can
him."
suck a
But
nut.
yeah, I was gonna say value does
player,
not matter
good
when
pick.
you see a good player at a position you need, a guy who fits your system. You pick him. You just do because because Lucas Van Ness isn't gonna be there in the second when they pick at like 42. Like he probably would have gone to the Jets instead of Will McDonald. I would say probably like.
Oh my God, would have been such a better pick for them.
Right, exactly. Like he wouldn't have lasted like 3 more picks if they hadn't taken him. So they wanted their guy. They got their guy. I'm a big Lucas Van Ness fan. Miller, I know you and I have talked about him a ton. But yeah, I'm a big Van Ness guy. I think he's going to be a great addition, and he's a good Rashawn Gary fill-in. Like they're both just really good power rushers. Just kind of bully their guy back into the quarterback. So before Gary comes back, if Van Ness really gets his chance to shine, I feel like he can play a very similar role.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely like looking at the idea of taking Van Ness in the first round, I think it's very vindictive of how they played last year. Because like you said, not having Gary was such a hurtful thing for their defense. And also if you kind of dive into like their tendencies, on third and short, Green Bay was top 10 in blitzes called between the 20s. Obviously in the red zone, it's a whole different thing, but like in the main part of the field, they were 8th in the league blitzing on third and short 45.5% of the time because they could not get pressure with 4. No. They could not get in the backfield with 4. And obviously, again, a big part of that, probably the main reason for that is the lack of Gary. But also, Van Ness is an upgrade over
Kingsley Enagbare.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who the hell you had starting opposite. He's a good rotational edge.
Yeah.
But you don't want him starting for
you. But also like Kenny Clark's listed as an edge in our 3-4 as well. So like
is he listed as an edge or a defensive end?
Defensive end.
Yeah, an edge in a 3-4 is a linebacker.
Yeah. Outside linebacker.
And that's the other thing with Van Ness. I mean, you've got the versatility with him where he can be a 3-4 end or a 3-4 edge. It's just kind of dependent on what you want to do with him, where you want to play him.
Yeah.
Because, he's such a big dude. There were people even talking about wanting to move him to 3-tech in the NFL. And he's just, he'd have to put on weight.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I wouldn't do that for Green Bay. I don't think that's in the cards for Green Bay. But if he would have gotten drafted to like a 4-3 team, I could have seen an argument for it, at least like as a third down type thing, like play him on the edge on early downs and then on third down.
Do the Bills run a 4-3?
No, the Bills run a 3-4.
Yeah, because Von Miller's the linebacker type.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. For example, with Chicago, I liked Van Ness a lot, and if we would have traded down further than 8. Or further than 9, excuse me. Yeah. He would have been someone on my radar. And for the Bears defense, I would have wanted him to play defensive end on early downs and then kick into 3-tech, potentially on third down and things like that. But either way, you're looking at a guy, high motor, very, very disciplined. Speed to power is fantastic. His get off is great, which, by the way, considering I've had people call me on this, like when I made my Lucas Van Ness TikTok specifically, and then I posted on YouTube as a short, the ability to generate speed to power is not the same thing as being fast. It's not the same thing as your straight line speed.
No.
The ability to generate speed to power is saying, hey, he starts out moving pretty quick, like as soon as he fires off the ball, and then the momentum and physics shit, I don't know the words for it because I didn't take physics, it like makes him hit people harder and look stronger.
But David, he only has 80 speed on Madden.
How do you know he doesn't have a Madden? He doesn't have a Madden yet.
I was just making something up.
Oh, well,
that's
either way. I mean, yeah. No, I know. But, the idea is like his get off is really good. He fires out of his stance quickly, and because of that, he's got the momentum to hit people harder. That's what speed to power is. It doesn't mean if you're going to put him in a foot race, he's going to be quicker than other people, because he's not. Like straight line speed-wise, he's not very fast. Yeah, but he's a big defensive end. You wouldn't expect him to be. Or a big linebacker, I guess, for the Packers. But anyway, some of their other picks, Kobe Wooden. It is Wooden, right?
It's Wooden, yeah.
I always say Woolen. It's Wooden. I had it written down right, and I fucking second-guessed myself.
Colby Wooden, yeah.
Yeah. He good first step, good length, good
Colby.
hand usage. He's just a big defensive end,
I
kind of
like
like
Kobe Wood a
Van
good bit.
Ness.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't.
I know you don't. Yeah,
I
Yeah,
don't think it's a coincidence they drafted a guy named Colby.
you gotta stop, man.
No, he's right.
I don't care if he's
I
right.
didn't draw. How did I not make these connections before?
They like
He's
cheese.
so right. Yeah, I think the Packers might like cheese, Jake. How does
I
that
don't
make
know.
you feel?
I mean, I'm a big cheese guy, so I'm okay with that.
Are you go eat a piece of cheese right now? All right, while he does that, we'll continue talking here.
Alright.
Colby Wooden, he's just a guy to me that, doesn't have a great anchor against the run, can't stack and shed very effectively, and somebody that's probably going to have to play inside, which is fine because he's a big dude, but like him against offensive tackles in college, his tape was horrible. So to me, he's kind of a rotational guy. He's also somebody that, like, as a play develops, his chances of winning are less and less likely. So
I think
unless
I watched his game versus Alabama.
mhm.
It was not fun to watch. But
Yeah, no, I mean, he as a rotational guy, you could do a lot worse. I'll put
True.
it that way. It's just, I think the other defensive end they took later in the class is better than Wooden. This guy actually went and got a fucking Kraft singles, and he's gonna eat it.
he thinks he's Tucker.
He thinks he's Tucker. Look at this guy. Yeah, so Jake, why don't you talk about Sean Clifford while you enjoy your cheese?
Sean Clifford,
Mm-hmm.
stupid, hate it. I don't get it. I would have liked them to get a quarterback at some point in the draft, but Sean Clifford in the 5th, man, when I believe Jaron Hall was still on the board,
Mm-hmm.
is infuriating. I don't get it, man. What do they see in Sean Clifford? He's old. He's bad. It's the 5th round.
He's older than Jordan Love.
Yeah,
I didn't
literally,
know
he is.
So-
It's ridiculous.
Here's my thing. I didn't hate Sean Clifford. He was my QB 10, granted, outside of the top like 5 guys. It was a really shitty quarterback class. So this was way early for him. And Sean Clifford to me is just like every college quarterback ever, where they looked okay. He was a good game manager, and he's going to go to the NFL and just be a clipboard holder. Like that's the average college QB experience, and I think Sean Clifford personifies that perfectly. Now, I will say, if this is an attempt at a big brain move to be like, hey, Jordan, look, your backup,
Competition.
he sucks. That means we like you more. And Jordan can be like, ooh, whoopee, my team really likes me. They drafted a bum behind me.
Hold on. If they didn't draft a quarterback, behind Jordan Love was Danny Etling.
Yeah, they had to
Danny
draft
Etling
somebody.
is?
So they doubled down. They said, hey, Jordan, you got not one bad backup, but 2. We have a lot of confidence in you. And then he gets hurt, and they panic because they don't actually have a backup.
They're bringing Danny Etling in. They're running the read option 17 times.
They'll resign Kurt Benkert if Love gets hurt.
Nah, run the read option with Aaron Jones at quarterback.
Honestly,
and then have
be pretty effective. Let him sling it.
What? Oh my God! Why can't I think of his name?
AJ Dillon.
Yeah, AJ Dillon. I was gonna say Big Quad Man. I couldn't think of his name.
My favorite Packer, Big Quad Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is his
card?
Madden card? Quadzilla. That's what his Madden card is.
Yeah.
Which he's not the only running back in the NFC with a quad-related nickname, which is so funny.
Say quads.
Say quads and Quadzilla. Who wins 1-on-1?
Saquon.
Doesn't Mike Davis play for the Falcons? Doesn't he have like huge quads too? You guys know who Mike Davis is?
Yeah, I know who Mike Davis is. He played for the Bears at one point for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that guy. He's got huge quads too, and he's in the NFC.
Yeah, but no one gives
him a nickname because he's Mike Davis. But yeah.
Mike the Quad Davis. I'm gonna start calling him the Quad. But moving on, Dontavian Wicks, like I said, I'm not super familiar with, but he's got a good catch radius and is good underneath. He's kind of like a Diet Dubs in a way.
He will barely play.
Yeah, he will not play much.
He'll be Dubs' backup.
Be a preseason merchant.
Okay. And then we get to Carl Brooks, who, like I alluded to earlier, I like more than Wooden. I think he's a better player.
And look at the value they got on him. Got him and Wooden.
he was amazing at the Senior Bowl, which is why I'm so surprised that he went as late as he did. Like, I really can't believe they were able to get him here. And was this the 5th or 6th round at this point?
6th, because
Wicks was
5th.
Yeah.
Is that a dog?
It is a dog.
That's crazy. This guy brought his dog to the recording.
He got lonely.
Is he a Packers fan?
This whole time. Undecided. I think.
Okay,
I think
good.
He's still
I was gonna
open to
say
some suggestions.
Okay, I was gonna say leave a comment down below. Tell us what team Jake's dog should be a fan of. What's your dog's name?
Know. Yeah, he's conflicted. His name is Scout. That's his
Scout?
name.
Okay, let us know what team Scout should be a fan of in the comments below. But don't comment the Packers or the Steelers because that would be animal cruelty.
Yes, officially, yes.
Or the Vikings. Those 3 teams would be considered animal cruelty.
Yes.
Me personally, I think he's a Panthers fan, but it's beyond me.
Let's see. Hold on. Bring Scout up. I want to ask him a question.
Hey, you want to come here, or what are you doing? You chilling?
Let's see if he is a Panthers fan. I got a good question for him. All right, Scout. How are we feeling about the Panthers taking Bryce Young first overall?
What do you think about Bryce Young? Do you like Bryce Young? Yeah? Is he a good quarterback?
He seems undecided.
He doesn't really. I don't think he has too strong of feelings on Bryce Young.
I don't think he has too strong opinions on Bryce Young either. Maybe he's not a Panthers fan.
He's more of a Stroud guy. He likes the Texans.
Yeah.
I see.
Actually, his QB1 was Clayton Tune, so we got to work on that.
Oh, Scout is not a good scout.
He's not a good scout, which is really unfortunate for his name.
Yeah, you jinxed him.
Yeah. I didn't. My sister named him. I had no part in this. I was actually avidly against the name Scout.
Why?
Just how basic it is for a dog.
I think it's a cool name for a dog.
I wanted to name him Aaron Rodgers.
Well, thank God.
Be named Randall Cobb, too.
Thank God. 2.0.
Yeah. I think
he will. He is.
You going?
Maybe he's a Jets fan.
You a Jets fan?
My mom had kittens, and I named one Megatron.
That's kind of based.
He does have a Packers bandana, so maybe he is.
That's animal cruelty.
Hey, he likes it.
I'm calling PETA.
No, don't do that.
That is animal cruelty.
He likes
I'm calling PETA.
He enjoys the Packers bandana, I think.
But anyways, back to Carl Brooks.
Yes, back to Carl Brooks.
I liked his hand usage a lot. Another guy that converts speed to power very well. He's a lot quicker and like twitchier than the other 2 pass rushers they took. The thing with him is he's just a little smaller. He doesn't have the same length. He's not as great of a run defender, but overall is like a 5th or 6th round pick. Hell of a job. Really good pick there. And then these next 3 guys, you got Anders Carlson, who kicker time, good. Got to replace Max Crosby.
Mid in college.
Max Crosby. I really wish he was a Packer. I really wish he was.
Shit. Mason Crosby. Sorry.
That would be great.
There's only one Crosby that's canon in my eyes.
That's
Max Crosby. No, he doesn't.
Yes, indeed, he does, sir.
Mason Crosby doesn't own anything. He's a Buddhist monk that doesn't believe in possessions. That's the second episode in a row I've made a joke about a Buddhist monk that doesn't believe in possessions.
Wait, yeah, are we your first film again? We're not.
No, the first one was the Bears. Oh, and I made that joke on Run the North. I didn't make it on the Bears, so never mind. That's the first time on here.
Who'd you have on the Bears episode?
It was Grayson Jarrett, and then do you guys know who the Windy City Productions is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the other one. Yeah, he's the epic Bears edit guy. Great guy. So, by the way, if you want to check that out, there should be a link in the description below. That's a great plug.
Boom.
Thank you, Jake.
Boom. You're welcome. You're welcome.
That being said, other 2 picks here. We've got Carrington Valentine, a corner. Yep. He's just good size, fits the defense.
I like him. Yeah, good pick.
Lou Nichols the third. Don't know a whole lot about him, but he was pretty damn productive in college.
I don't think he'll ever see the field.
Probably not. Honest. Probably more of a practice squad guy.
Yeah, maybe a special teamer. I don't know what he really does, but yeah.
Yeah. And then Anthony Johnson, Jake, you seem to be pretty excited about this one, so I'll let you just go ahead and take it and talk
Anthony
about
Johnson is sick. I like Anthony Johnson a lot. And here's how I know that he's certified good, right? When I was in college, one of my best friends, a huge Iowa State fan. I don't know why, but Iowa State's his school. And every single day, or every single time we would be watching Iowa State football, he'd point out Anthony Johnson. And he'd be like, you see this guy? This guy's real good. And so coming into the draft, when I started scouting, he was the first safety I watched outside of Brian Branch. was like, let's see what the hype's all about. And I actually do like him quite a bit. I think he'll be. I don't know if he's gonna be a day one starter. He might have to be just based on the fact that there's nobody else at safety. But I could see Jonathan Owen starting over him to start out. But I do like him quite a bit. I think he'll end up being a solid starter for us. And in the 7th round, like even if you don't know that much about him, you know that he was supposed to go a lot earlier than the 7th. So yeah, I like that pick. Love it.
I will say the thing with him is there's a world where he might get a lot of playing time in the nickel. Obviously, I know Green Bay's corner room is great, and we'll talk about that here in a couple minutes when we just go ahead and run through the roster. But there is a world where, Rasul Douglas isn't getting any younger. He's in his 30s by this point, right?
Rasul Douglas?
He's 29.
He's either 29
He's only
or just
29?
30. Yeah.
Goodness.
27. He is 27 years old. That's crazy. He is 27 years old.
Maybe never mind then. Throw that out the window. He's your free safety, maybe.
January 26.
Yeah, because that free safety y'all have, not good.
No.
By the way, I don't know. This is kind of on topic. There are 8 first-round picks on the Packers defense and 1 on the offense.
Yeah.
The 1 is Jordan Love.
I was going to say, yeah, the one's Jordan Love.
That's a certified Packer moment.
Certified Packers moment.
What round was D-back taken in? That's been so long ago, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure.
I was going to say, I knew he was late. And then their final... Yeah. And then their final pick was Grant Dubose, who, didn't watch. I watched a little bit, but not enough to talk about.
I did post-draft.
Mm-hmm.
And... I mean, even if I liked him, he's not seeing the field. So
he's one of the receivers. So
yeah. He is one of the receivers.
There were some people who seemed to think he was okay.
No, I've seen a couple people really rave about him. If you guys know who EJ Snyder is,
yeah.
Brett Coleman's co-host on the Bootleg podcast, big time Bears guy. He was a big Grant Dubose guy. And obviously, when he got drafted by the Packers, he was not very pleased. So,
yeah,
I don't think he's gonna play.
Probably not gonna play.
He'll be a good practice squad guy.
Make the roster.
He'll make the roster with how shallow the receiver room is. He'll make the roster. Like I could see him making the roster over. Maybe that's too far.
Well, I don't know.
Just he can maybe make the roster over Wicks if he's good enough.
His competition is Bo Melton, Jeff Cotton. D.D. Westbrook was on the practice squad last year.
I'm not sure if he still is. I don't think so. But literally, all the training camp reports so far have been how good Samori Toure has been. So I'm excited for that too.
Really?
But he's been like the shining star of that receiver room, according to training camp reports. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm not sure if that's like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are falling apart or if he's just been really good.
I've seen a lot of Dobbs praise. So to be fair.
He was good in camp last year too. He's always been solid, but yeah, I like the DeBose pick a good bit. It was not. I don't think it's like a wasted pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to waste a pick in the 7th round.
We had 4. We spent all of them.
Yeah,
so.
Which is
in the 4th round. You're just trying to find somebody to make the roster.
Yeah.
So if they do that,
and I honestly think,
all
4 of these guys, except for maybe Lou Nick, will make the 52.
That's absolutely 53. But yeah, that's possible. You always say 52. It's always been 53, Jake.
I don't know why I keep saying 52. I've said it so many times over in the North. I've said it so many times on the podcast. I don't know what it is. But bro cannot count. It's actually 54 because of the new key rule, so actually they don't burn a roster spot, so it's 53. Never mind.
Can't wait to see Danny Etling suited up on the sideline.
Let's go.
He's gonna have
Danny
to
Etling truther, stand the fuck up.
If you're a Danny Etling
Clifford, man.
Please leave a comment.
If you were a Danny Etling fan, please comment down below and just say Danny Etling Nation, stand the fuck up. In all caps. I want to see it in the comments. No posers,
we might have to
only
put you
real
through
Danny
Etling
enjoyers.
But yeah.
But speaking of Danny Etling, I don't think anyone's ever said that before.
No one's ever spoken the words.
And now that we're almost an hour into this, let's go ahead and just look at the roster, kind of talk about the guys that we all know have been here and kind of where they're at. Starting out with Jordan Love. this is obviously the big talking point for the Packers is what is Jordan Love going to do? And Steven got into it a little bit earlier, but one of my questions for you guys is what are your expectations, for him this season? Do you expect him to be Rodgers, which would be incredibly unrealistic, and I don't think either of you will say, or do you expect him just to look competent? Do you just want him to look like he's comfortable out there, like he's doing something, and then kind of have this year as a building year for next year? Or are you hoping that the 4 years or whatever of development have turned him into a ready quarterback and he's going to come out week 1 and look like an NFL starter?
I'll say this: the first Rodgers year, we went 6-11, so the expectations cannot be that high. The second thing I'll say is kind of what I said earlier. I can't expect him to be Rodgers, but 2022 Rodgers. That's all he needs to be for now.
Yeah.
If he can improve after that,
I think one thing that's going in his favor right now is last year Rodgers literally said the words, "This offense is too simple and I don't like it." That bodes well for a young quarterback in Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
As stupid as it made the Packers seem when Rodgers said it, also maybe they're just trying to transition themselves into a new system if they know that Jordan Love's going to be the guy, right? I think 2 tight end sets with Musgrave and Kraft, that's a good safety blanket. I think the receiving core can be pretty solid for him. I think they've given him tools to succeed. It's not like it would be a completely different situation if they were throwing him into like just a completely terrible, like completely not salvageable situation. He was going to look terrible no matter what because there's just nobody to catch the football or no offensive line. But the offensive line when healthy is solid. The receivers when healthy are solid. He's got Aaron Jones, who's a fantastic weapon out of the backfield in general, and even including his run game. He's got Musgrave. He's got Kraft. He's got a top half of the league coach in Matt LaFleur. He's got. I mean, I don't necessarily hate like the defense. Like it's Joe Barry still gives me nightmares, but I think we'll be okay. He's got a solid defense backing him. I think he's got tools to succeed, but my expectation realistically, I think he's like a 25 to maybe like 3,000 yard passer, maybe like 20 touchdowns, 7 or 8 picks, I would say, would be my guess. I think that's about where I would put him at, which isn't the worst stats in the world, but it's just pretty average. Like I'll say this, I think Jordan Love next year will put himself in a tier above the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. Like he'll be in like one of like the more mid to average tiers, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. I will say, with Steven's point about the whole Rodgers thing, if you remove all context from that, if you go into the season saying, I hope my quarterback can be as good as a hobbled veteran, that's really funny. Obviously, a hobbled Aaron Rodgers is still an above-average quarterback.
Yeah,
but
sure, yes, yes.
point being here, I definitely think, it's hard to place any expectations on Jordan Love considering how little of him we've seen. I think it's a game and a half he started. Eagles game had its ups and downs. Chiefs game, he looked good against kind of a weird defense where it was good at that point in the season, but also was really bad earlier in the season. But all that being said, given the fact that he's had so long to like incubate behind Aaron Rodgers, so to speak, and he has worked with so many good offensive minds, Matt LaFleur, as much as we hate to say it, Nathaniel Hackett seems to be a good, at least QB coach. The quarterback's coach in Green Bay, I can't remember his name, but he's obviously doing great things. Like, he has the ability, if he's grown to look like a good quarterback. Now, year 1, it's going to be a little bit different. I think this offense is going to be a lot more run heavy than anything, so I don't think we're going to see Jordan unleashed or anything like that.
But, I mean, we said that last year. We was still saying it for no reason.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I mean, to kind of discuss like where kind of my expectations come from, he was really good in that Eagles game. Like really good. He had some serious zip on the ball. He was very, very accurate. Maybe not really good, but he was good in that Eagles game. He was careful with the ball. He was very, very accurate. He was slinging it. He's got good velocity. He's got good arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember. I have to go back and watch the Chiefs game because I don't remember much of it, honestly. Just when I did watch it live.
In the Chiefs game, he was a member of the fuck it Randall Cobb down there somewhere.
He was,
But it
yeah,
worked.
and he wasn't even that bad in that game from what I can remember. It wasn't great, but like his first start could have been a lot worse with how bad people thought he was going to be.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I don't think it's going to be an immediate Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre transition, but sitting behind a back-to-back MVP and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time is never going to hurt your case. So
Right.
I think that's also
Absolutely.
one of the things that gives him like the tools he needs to succeed.
Right. And that's kind of how I feel as well. Like, I think with Love, the expectation just needs to be stay afloat, you
Yep.
know, keep things rolling, almost game manage in a way. Like, obviously, I think we're going to see some flashes of something because, like Jake said, the velocity he puts under the ball and just the strength of his arm in general are both awesome. Those were like his big selling points coming out of college. So I do think we'll see some fun stuff downfield, especially when you look at guys like Christian Watson and Jaden Reed, those two being really good deep threats when Watson can actually catch the football, which I can say because I love Christian Watson. I am a Christian Watson fan.
Yeah.
I have been since before the draft, or before his draft, excuse me. But point being, it's smart to temper expectations for Jordan Love, I think, just because of the way this offense is trending. And we'll get into that here when we talk about the backfield, because they did make a very specific move that makes me wonder, how much, like, if they're actually going to abandon the gunslinger thing and trying to move the ball downfield, which I am confident they will, considering, obviously we thought they were going to run the ball a lot last year. But when you have Aaron Rodgers on the team, you're never going to run the ball a lot because it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he's hobbled. I don't care if he's hurt. He's Aaron fucking Rodgers. Jordan Love is not that. And quite frankly, he will probably never be that because being Aaron Rodgers would be really, really hard.
And annoying.
Yes, also very annoying. But talent-wise, like removing accolades and statistics and all that, pure talent-wise, him and Mahomes are one and two all time.
He doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers just for like him to be considered good, right? Like I fear that even if he is good this year, Packers fans will be like, just wait. Don't give him any credit until he's won an MVP or he brings us a ring. Or like,
and that's the problem. The shoes are so
like our
big
expectations
to
have been set so high by every quarterback
high.
we've ever had in our lives that like now we're just like, well, he better win an MVP at some point, or he better win us a Super Bowl ring like within his first 3 years as a starter. But it's really interesting because Jordan Love is an expiring free agent after this next year. So
imagine Jordan Love plays good and then just says, I don't want to be a Packer anymore.
That would be really funny. I'm pretty sure he's restricted as far as I know. But he is a free agent after the season. So if he sucks,
his
it's
agent
not the end of the
is
world.
Deshaun Watson's agent. So
Deshaun Watson's agent is everybody's agent, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, at this
he
point,
represents Stroud, represents Fields.
Love, Watson, Fields. Yeah.
Which is why, for any Bears fans that might be watching this, if you see anything that says Fields and Watson are hanging out, know their agent organized it and that Fields isn't like Watson's bestie or something. Because I've seen a lot of Bears, because like they did some football camp. It was Fields, Watson, and Love. And I saw a lot of Bears fans and Packers fans being like, why is my quarterback associating with such a degenerate? Which, like, fair question. But it's because their agent set everything up. So they're just kind of there. Yeah. It's not like they're going there to be like, yo, Watson, let's go, my guy. You want to link up later? Like, no. It's, hey, our agent wants us to get publicity. This guy is also here. Cool. Let's go teach some kids how to play football and keep Watson as far away from their moms as possible. Anyways, moving on to talking about their backfield, their run game. Obviously, you have Aaron Jones, who's one of the better running backs in football. Someone that I feel like doesn't get the respect that he deserves. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because he's like such a quiet running back. Like he will quietly put up really good numbers.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not CMC or Henry where everyone's talking about him all the time. It's just he's consistent. He does have his big splash plays. He'll have big games where he puts up a lot of points as a running back. It's just he's not quite as flashy as them.
Yeah.
So he doesn't quite get the recognition he deserves, doesn't quite get the credit he deserves.
He's not really a touchdown merchant. That's why.
Yeah.
Right. He's not Eckler. He's a real running back.
I think as a whole, just talking about the backfield as a whole, I think we have a fantastic 1-2 punch with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon has just gotten so much better since when we first saw him. I mean, he's legitimately like a threat when he gets the ball at this point. Like, even in moments when like he's not trucking somebody, he's got really good vision. He kind of runs through the lane and he kind of finds the open space and just picks up yards. And same with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has great vision, but he also has fantastic contact balance. Like, he very rarely goes down on the first hit. Very rarely. He'll always bounce off somebody and like change direction. Obviously super fast. He's a great receiver. If there is one, I'm not really sure what it is, but there are very few aspects of the game at playing running back that I think Aaron Jones like doesn't excel at or isn't at least like serviceable at. Like, he does everything a running back should be able to do well. Maybe not the best blocker, but they were worse than him. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this is I guess part of my roster prediction, but I think they'll have 3 on the roster this year.
I think it'll be Patrick Taylor.
Yeah.
Patrick Taylor is not the worst.
He's an A.J. Dillon clone.
Yeah, he's like
he just runs through people as well. So
yeah, it's really a battle between him and Lou Nichols to get that third spot. But yeah, I like the backfield as a whole, especially because Henry Pearson. You are a Green Bay
You
Packer.
stole my thunder, you cunt.
Henry Pearson.
I was just about to
we
say,
have a fullback.
So, yeah.
Miller, do you have the scoop on Henry Pearson?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
I found this out the other day. I had to do my research because I did not watch Pearson ahead of the draft.
Where's he coming out of?
Appalachian State.
Oh, they were good this year. Hold on.
Yeah.
They were kind of sick this year.
He was their starting tight end at App State.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he's
Okay.
making he's doing a little conversion. Looking at him here, just reading off this blurb I have. Played in 59 career games, made 43 starts at tight end, all Sun Belt second team as a senior. 58 catches for 897 yards and 11 touchdowns across his career. Full-time starter in his final 3 years. In 2022, led App State and tied for the Sun Belt lead among tight ends with 5 touchdown catches during the regular season. Second among league tight ends in catches and receiving yards in the regular season. And then among starting Sun Belt tight ends, he had the second best overall blocking grade, according to PFF. Additionally, he knocked out 30 reps on the bench press at the combine, at App State's Pro Day. The highest among tight ends at this year's combine was 23. So he in college, he was a strong, physical, short tight end that was really smart and a really good blocker. And if those guys ever do anything with their life, it's transition to fullback in the NFL. The fullback or the small school strong tight end to NFL fullback pipeline is incredibly strong. Dude, 6'2", 249 pounds. Like I said, fantastic blocker, good pass catcher out of the backfield.
A certain other fullback in the NFC played tight end in college, and now here he is. So I think we know what Henry Pearson is going to be.
If you put Henry Pearson and Kyle Juszczyk in the same sentence, I will personally come to your house and stab you.
The exact same. They're on the same career path, man. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I'm going to stab you with a rusty spoon.
That's all I'm saying.
That is happening.
I don't think they'll do it.
Except Pearson was better.
Okay. We're just gonna. There we go. Anyways,
I don't think they'll add him to the roster.
You don't think he'll make the final 53?
We haven't had a fullback since like that guy that tried to be John Kuhn.
Here's my question.
Right.
Rebkowski, yeah.
Okay.
Here's my question. If they do put him at fullback, what are they going to do with DeGuara? Because he's just like tight end 3 at this point.
Tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like. He doesn't really serve much of a purpose if Musgrave and Kraft are both on the field. I don't know.
Special teams. I don't know.
Like Miller.
Also, like Steven. Okay, here's the thing. Like Steven mentioned earlier, if you're going to play Musgrave as more of a wing receiver, like you did with Lazard, then if you're running 22, which Green Bay will probably do a lot this year, if Pearson makes the roster, then DeGuara's just tight end too.
Here's the thing: is like
lined up out wide.
Here's the thing: is like Miller, between DeGuara and Pearson, who would you rather have at fullback?
Pearson, I haven't watched as much tape on.
Yeah.
So it's tough for me to really say. However, I will say DeGuara is like the definition of, hey, here's a tight end. We're going to put him in the backfield. So and Pearson has more of like the build and the mold of a real fullback, like a true fullback.
Sure.
So the purist in me wants it to be Pearson, but I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a camp thing. I couldn't say for sure just because I haven't watched Pearson like much,
Yeah.
if all.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even at the current moment, like Musgrave is sorry, not Musgrave. DeGuara is listed ahead of Kraft on the depth chart. So
yeah. No, but I think the big takeaway from the whole Pearson thing is if he makes the roster, this is going to be a run-heavy offense.
yeah,
Because you will have three big body tight ends that can block really well. You already run a bunch of 12 personnel. Just make it 22 personnel. Take a receiver off the field. Line up Watson at receiver. Line up Musgrave at receiver. And Musgrave's skill set is to the point where you can look at that and not be like, oh, they're definitely running the ball because he can run routes like a receiver. And then you have DeGuara and Kraft as your tight ends, Pearson and whoever in the backfield, and you can turn that either into a really good power running game, or you can throw the ball. And like I said, Pearson was one of the better tight ends in the Sun Belt. Like he can catch the ball out of the backfield pretty well. So suddenly, despite it being such a heavy formation, you have at least 4 dudes, excuse me, who are catching the ball incredibly well. DeGuara also isn't half bad getting the ball in his hands, and if you have Aaron Jones as your running back, you can throw a lot of teams off with something like that. Having 3 tight ends, a fullback, a running back, and then your number 1 receiver all in the field that can all catch passes. There's not a lot of teams in the NFL that can do that. In fact, this might be the only team in the NFL that can do that. So that can throw a lot of teams off and really fuck you up with matchups and mismatches and, kind of how you plan for the Packers. Like, I hate to say it, but the Packers could be really, really fun if they do something like that.
Maybe not good, but it'll be fun.
David Bakhtiari is the oldest player. Honestly.
Yeah, which is very good. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And speaking of D-back, we'll just go ahead and talk about the offensive line now.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of confidence in this group. Like, this is a good group.
I'm a little shaky on Josh Myers, but...
Really?
I'm not the biggest Josh Myers fan. And the right side of the offensive line is also kind of... Don't like Josh Runyon, not the biggest fan of Yosh Nijman. But Zach Tom will be that soon enough. So we'll be waiting for that. But
Zach Tom is that guy.
The left side and like half of Josh Myers, I'm pretty confident in. But I don't know. Josh Myers is just I really would have loved to see them draft a guy to kind of compete for the job and maybe put a little fire underneath him.
They're gonna move Jenkins around like they have. Hopefully not at tackle because he gets a lot of holding penalties at tackle. Yeah,
I love him. I think he's pretty versatile, but when he gets on the outside, he's just like, I'm not going to let you go. You're not getting to my quarterback, even if there's a flag on the field.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would say out of the starters. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, the offensive line is nice.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, D-back when healthy is obviously one of the better tackles in football. We already talked about Jenkins in depth. Like, he's a really good, versatile guard. John Runyon I like. Zach Tom I like. Josh Myers I'm kind of indifferent towards. Like, I can see why you would be lower on him, but I don't have too strong opinions either way. Yeah. I think every team in the NFL can say we could have had Creed Humphrey, though.
Yeah. That would have been nice, but... Yeah, I mean, as a whole, I think this offensive line will be pretty solid. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking at the receiver core, obviously we've talked about a lot of these guys already. I'm sure there's plenty of confidence here, at least in terms of upside, especially with Dubs, Reed, and Watson, and Torrey, who apparently has been lighting it up at camp. Like this is a nice receiver room. We've got Bo Melton in there too, which breaks my heart because I really, really like Bo Melton. I was a big fan of his coming out of college. He's a fun gadget guy.
Where did he play again?
Rutgers.
Yeah.
Rutgers?
I was going to say it was some weird small school.
Oh, I think
Or not small school, like some random school you don't hear about as much. Yeah, because he had offers from like big schools and turned them down to go to Rutgers because I think his dad went to Rutgers.
We signed him off the Seahawks practice squad.
Yeah, the Seahawks drafted him, and I was so excited for him to be there, and then they didn't use him. Like, he's just a really fun gadget guy.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got. Listen,
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about him. I didn't watch like his tape or anything, but I put him in on Madden. He has 95 speed, so
Yeah, he
it's
is
pretty
very
fun.
fast. Plus, he's got a cool name.
True.
Bo Melton's a cool name. Tight end room we've already talked about, so that's the offense kind of covered here. Definitely some confidence to be had, at least again in terms of the upside of this group. A lot of fun young pieces, depending on what Jordan Love wants to do here. The offense could be really good. Like I said, I personally subscribe to the idea that it's going to be very, very run heavy, despite what Green Bay's tendencies have told us over time. But that's what I'm going to run with here. And then we get to the defense, running a base 3-4 under Joe Barry. And this is a very like Vic Fangio heavy inspiration type of defense. A lot of cover four, a lot of quarters. So starting out with the defensive line, obviously last year was not great, as shown by their horrible run defense EPA per play. But like as a whole, this is a group we're cool with, right? This is a group we're liking
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Anyone specific you guys want to talk about here? Like, I think Kenny Clark kind of goes
Oh,
without
yeah,
saying
I
he's one
mean-
of the best D tackles in football.
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
Go ahead, Jake.
I don't know. Carl Brooks obviously is up there.
Mhm.
Kobe Wooden, the rookies and Van Ness and everybody. But I think Devontae Wyatt's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
he was terrible last year.
Yeah.
Like, didn't see the field much, but I don't think all hope is lost on him yet. I wouldn't say not all hope. I'm
Right.
there is not a lot of there, but I don't think I'm willing to count him out after one rookie season where he didn't even play
Yeah,
that much.
for sure.
However, I think he'd be interesting if he does get playing time and he does look solid. I think that'd be cool. I just think he's a guy to kind of maybe keep your eye on. Just,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a chance that, I mean, because he was fantastic at Georgia. I did pick him for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he definitely wasn't a first round talent. I don't think I don't think anybody really believes that at this point.
Yeah.
But I think Devontae Wyatt's a guy I'd want to highlight just because I don't know. I think with Gary being out, he can maybe see some more playing time. I could see it. I could see him being okay. But yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah.
I think we're small. The front four are small.
Yeah. I mean, outside of yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a smaller group, but that comes with its advantages. These guys are quicker, going to get up underneath people, really good leverage, things like that. But again, them being smaller was incredibly apparent because this defense they run is heavily reliant on their edge rushers, not only as pass rushers, but also in the run game. And when Rashawn Gary's not on the field, the run game gets astronomically worse. And a big reason for that is because of how small this defensive line is. Because if Gary's not on the field, you don't have to worry about double teaming him or putting as much attention on him. You can kind of spread your attention across the line. And if you're getting one-on-one matchups, some of these guys can get bodied. So that's definitely a big concern. Hopefully Lucas Van Ness can kind of counteract that early in the season. But if not, the run game is going to eat you alive until Gary's back out on the field.
I think it also relies a lot on just the linebackers because we rely a lot on Devondre Campbell just being able to tackle really well, just because he's one of the better tacklers. And whenever he was injured last year and we were playing the Commanders, he came back for the Commanders game, but he was just so sloppy. Just because
I was gonna say, yeah, even after injury, he was not the same Devondre Campbell. He had a down year.
He was an All-Pro 2 years ago, so
Right.
I'm not writing him off, but
no, but I do think the regression's kind of starting to hit him because he is an older linebacker.
He played in the Super Bowl with the Falcons.
Yeah,
that's how old he is.
He did. Yeah.
And then the guy next to him, Quay Walker, I'm sure feelings are mixed about him.
Clearly got some character.
I actually think, characters aside, he played pretty well last year. I think he had his moments last year. There were some times where I was where I really did not like the pick, and then there were a lot of times last year where I'd be like, man, this was good. I liked this. He played pretty well last year. He just needs to stop beating up athletic trainers. That would be fantastic if he stopped doing that. I don't know. I think he just needs to get a better head and his shoulders, and that'll come with time and experience. I think. Out of him and Wyatt, I am 1,000 times more confident that Walker will end up being a consistent starter, a good player for us. A solid guy. I like him a lot. I definitely think that this is a good pick, and I have faith that he's going to be able to kind of lock it down with Devondre this year.
Tariq Carpenter is a linebacker now.
That is true. That's true. He's
I was
pretty
just-
far down there on the depth chart, but yeah, he's there.
I was just about to ask, are there any of these other linebackers that you guys care about or want to say anything about?
Honestly, unless you're talking outside linebackers too, no.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we kind of skipped over Preston Smith and some of these edge
I mean, Preston
rushers.
Smith, I've always been a fan of.
He's
liked him.
incredibly solid.
Yeah, and we talked about Ben Ness with the draft stuff, but yeah,
Mhm.
Preston
And
Smith.
Kingsley and Agbear's there.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Preston Smith.
Mhm.
Shout out
Smith
Preston
was
Smith.
insane.
If you're a Preston Smith fan, comment.
Then
Yeah,
you're
we
right.
want to see
If you're a
Preston Smith
fan,
Nation
then you are
stand the fuck up
correct.
in the
You are
comments.
correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like him,
The Commanders did him dirty.
and obviously, Rashawn Gary.
Mhm. Of course.
That guy.
Gary, despite
Also,
our co-host
gonna be a
on Run
free
the
agent
North
after this
thinking
year.
he sucks, he's one of the 5 best edge rushers in football, quite easily,
yes.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
5
let
to
me
10.
let me ask you, Steven, because I haven't gotten your opinion. Do you think that Rashawn Gary is better than Daniil Hunter?
Yes.
Okay, good man.
Good take.
Good man. We
Good
had this
take.
argument with Geek because he is so convinced that Daniil Hunter is the best edge rusher in the NFC North.
No, it's
Which-
Gary. It's not
I mean,
close.
if you think that Daniil Hunter is better than Gary, you're essentially saying that he's a top 5 edge rusher. I don't think Daniil Hunter's
That's
a top 5
pushing
edge rusher. Yeah, but yeah, no. Obviously, I love Rashawn Gary. Also, a pending free agent, so that'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Hopefully, they pay him big money.
Depends how he plays after
um,
his ACL.
That's true. If he gets hurt again, or if he kind of has a down year, I don't know. If he becomes a Bear, I would go into some kind of spasm. I don't know what
I would pay
do.
so much money to
I
have
don't
him in
know what I would
Chicago. You
do.
have no idea.
I
I love
don't know
Rashawn
what
Gary
I
so
would do.
much. But moving on to their secondary.
Yep.
Starting out with the corners here, obviously a group you got to feel pretty good about. Jair Alexander, apart
John.
from the first half of last year, is one of the 5 best corners in football.
He is
Rasul
indeed.
Douglas has played incredible for y'all. Eric Stokes is a really nice young
He had a
athletic
good
corner.
rookie season,
Yeah,
but then he got hurt.
yeah.
Which the injury was still like in the air. Like no one even knows how he got hurt, but
Mhm.
he got hurt all of last season after the Bucs game. So
Mhm.
And then obviously Keyshawn Nixon's there as a corner, more of a return man, but just a super athlete.
he wants to play offense.
Does he?
Yeah.
Who?
Keyshawn Nixon.
Oh yeah, no, he wants to do like.
Bro, he really thinks he's Devin Hester.
I was gonna say he wants to do what Marcus Jones was doing last year, essentially.
Nah, bro, thinks he's Devin Hester. Because this is
rotating
exactly
thing.
what Hester did. He started out as a corner, was a really good return man, and they were like, hey, let's put this guy on offense.
Yeah,
and
Keyshawn-
see if he's
Keyshawn
fast."
Nixon had like a really cheesy quote in an interview where he was like, "Yeah, I want to play in the slot as a receiver," and I was just like, "Oh,
He thinks he's
Keyshawn."
Devin Hester.
was Devin Hester a slot receiver? No.
Mhm.
Was he?
He was just not very good receiver. Anyways.
He wasn't great as a receiver because this was before the NFL realized, like, hey, maybe let's use receivers and gadget guys in the backfield a little bit. And
Yeah.
use them on like pop passes, and they were trying to get like Devin Hester to go out and run routes and
And
shit.
to
and
be
he
fair,
just
who
wasn't
was
built
Devin
for it.
Hester's quarterback?
Well, his quarterback had a hell of an arm.
Who's his quarterback?
Cutler.
Oh, boo-hoo. Jay Cutler.
Cutler
sucked.
has one of the strongest arms in NFL history. He just wasn't accurate with it.
And he was just pissed off every time he played.
Yeah, Jay Cutler hated football.
He did hate football. He's like Jokic, but in a bad way.
Yeah, God was like, "Hey Jay, here's a bunch of talent at football," and Jay goes, "Thanks, I hate it."
Oh, do I really have to go make
Do I-
millions of dollars for
Right.
throwing a football to a bunch of
And
people?
marry a supermodel. Do I really have to do this?
Can't I just be depressed?
Can't. No, he wants to live in a shack out in the middle of the woods and hunt coyotes and.
That's probably what he's doing
smoke
right now.
It is
The re-
exactly what he's doing.
That's
Yeah,
probably
no.
what he's
The
doing right
report
now.
last week where he killed a bear, it was so funny.
Yeah, because like there's nothing. First of all, there's nothing wrong with that. It was in season. He had a license. It was
Yeah.
on legal property. It's just people get sad over or get
Yeah.
mad over nothing.
I mean, to be fair, one of my favorite Jay Cutler moments is when he's lined up as a receiver in Miami and
He
the
just
snap
turns
goes and
around.
he's just like,
Yeah. I think my favorite Jay Cutler thing ever is, like I said, after he retired and then after he got divorced from his wife, he moved out into a cabin out on like some property, like out in the middle of the woods, basically. And he had a coyote that kept killing his chickens. So he went over to his buddy, who was like an ex-Marine, got military-grade night vision goggles, and went on Instagram Live and sat on his porch waiting for this coyote to shoot it. And there's a screenshot where he has the goggles flipped up. He's in all camo smoking the fattest cigar I've ever seen. I'll have to send you the picture after this. It's sick. But also, like, Jay Cutler is a Trump guy.
Yeah.
So
Seems like the Bears players have that pipeline, but
yeah.
it's literally just two of them, and all of their teammates hate them now. Like,
It's true.
Like, listen, Matt Forte is the only one I've seen actually like try to reach out to them, and I love him for it because Matt was like, when Urlacher did his thing, Forte was like, "Listen, Brian, brother, come talk to me. We can talk this out. We can work this out. You need some God in your life, like all that kind of stuff." And Urlacher, I don't think ever got back to him, and I felt bad because he was trying so hard.
That's true.
Like, God bless
Hey,
Matt
the attempt
Forte,
was
man.
there. The attempt was there.
Yeah,
Matt
Gotta
Forte
love
was
that.
a dog.
Was.
yeah, Matt Forte was a dog.
But we're not talking about the Bears, anyways.
Yeah, no. Back to the Packers.
Yeah. This corner group is one that I'm super intrigued by. I think Eric Stokes is the guy who kind of piques my interest a little bit because he was pretty good as a rookie, and then last year he just he was hurt and he didn't really play well in the time he did play. So I don't know. I think he's a little interesting because Keyshawn Nixon could end up being better than him this year, and he could be our corner
Yeah,
three.
I don't know. I was watching him in the Bucks game, and he was just getting cooked by Cole Beasley, and I was like,
Stokes
Keyshawn
was?
Nixon?
no.
Stokes was.
I was gonna say Jesus. How does one of
Stokes
the
was getting
fastest dudes in the league
cooked by
get
Cole
cooked by
Beasley.
Cole Beasley?
Stokes is the fastest corner in the league, or one of them. Stokes is insanely
Yeah.
fast. He's getting burned by Cole Beasley. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, he was getting cooked. Cole Beasley, I think, was their leading receiver that game, if I'm not mistaken. He
ran like this really cool out route, and it was like,
Dude
pissed
got
me off,
cooked
so.
by an anti-vaxxer.
Cooked by a
That's
walker.
wild.
But there's nobody. The thing is, like, I don't really have a lot of trust in like the guys outside of the first four.
Yeah,
Like
that's valid.
Shamar, Gene Charles, and Corey Ballantyne, and Carrington Valentine, and Keandre Thomas. Okay, like maybe Valentine can be okay, but like I don't know. Like I'm pretty shaky at the depth of this core.
Yeah.
We were last year too, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of being shaky, safeties.
You have Alzheimer's?
Thoughts?
Oh.
Darnell Savage sucks. I hate him. I don't want him on the Packers anymore. Rudy Ford is good. I like Rudy Ford. Rudy Ford had some sick plays when he actually got playing time. I don't know much about Jonathan Owens. He's a new guy from Houston. I'll have to look more into him.
He had like what?
He was a big part of their defense last year. And then obviously there's Anthony Johnson, who I hope will end up replacing Darnell Savage by some point at the end of the year.
And then Tarvarius.
But yeah, I am not a fan.
Everyone's favorite Madden user, Tarvarius Moore.
Needless to say, yeah, I'm not a fan of this core. I think there's some potential there with Rudy Ford and Anthony Johnson, but
Rudy Ford's kind of nice.
Yeah, no, he's nice. I like him.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
he's small, so I don't know how well he'll fit.
Yeah.
At the strong safety, I guess. But
yeah. And then just kind of wrap things up here. Special teams exists. Shout out to them. Pat O'Donnell, fuck you, you traitor.
He's a great punter, though. I love him.
He's an even better holder.
Yeah, that was our problem in 2021.
He is one of the best holders in football. That's his big
good
thing.
for a rookie kicker, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously we mentioned they brought in Matthew Orzech.
Yep.
They've got Jaden Reed and Keyshawn Nixon apparently returning punts and kicks.
It's gonna be a sick duo.
Yeah. And then my last two questions for you guys, we'll kind of group them into one here. What player are you most excited for this season? And record-wise, what is your ceiling and floor for the Packers this year?
17-0 Jordan Love.
Player I'm excited for is Jordan Love. I'm just excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see him play football as a starter. And my record prediction, my official record prediction is 7-10. My ceiling is probably 10-7, and my floor is 3-14.
Okay.
I'm similar.
We could get killed this year if things don't break our way.
I'm similar with the record prediction, but I don't know. I see 7-10 a lot, and I'm like, who's to say we can't win like 2 more games?
That's the thing is, like, I look at the schedule and I'm like, I really want to have them win these next 2 games because I have the Bears at 8-9 currently. So like, I don't know. I'm sure we'll finish last, but yeah.
I think the ceiling is actually 11 wins.
I can, yeah.
And I think we'll win 9 games.
Okay.
Fair.
And you're most excited for Jordan Love too?
Jordan Love and Jaden Reed.
That's valid.
Yeah.
And Zach Tom.
Yep.
My goat.
So, player I'm most excited for is obviously Henry Pearson. Just because the Packers are such an old school team, and they're a team that needs to have a fullback. Like, it just fits the vibe, right? But if he doesn't make the roster, my answer would probably go to Christian Watson. Obviously, kind of like a cop-out answer because of how exciting he was last year. But yeah, he needs to work on catching the football. And that was his big thing coming out of North Dakota State, was he was incredible with the ball in his hands, separated really well, pretty solid route runner. It's just the act of getting the football into his 2 hands is difficult for him. And that happens. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Certain receiver in Green Bay, now in Las Vegas, also had that issue coming out of college.
Well, he's more comparable. This is gonna sound insane, okay, but Dobbs
don't you dare
comparable.
say the Bruce. Oh, okay. I thought you were about to pull the Bruce Irons thing and say, well, actually, Christian Watson's Randy Moss.
No, bro, that pissed me off so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was abysmal. Unfortunately, they're the guy that helped that receiver that's very good learn how to catch is now in Chicago. So, sorry about your luck. But yeah, Christian Watson, in my opinion, is probably the most exciting player on this team. I would say Rashawn Gary if he was going to be there for the whole season, but he's not, so it's tough. Record-wise, though, I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. I do think the Packers' ceiling is probably about 10 or 11 wins. Their floor, I'm a little bit higher than Jake. I think is about 5 or 6. Then for an actual prediction, I think the Packers are going to end up like 9-8, 8-9, right in the middle. I do think Jordan Love will be fine. I don't think he's going to be great. I also don't think he's going to suck. I think he will kind of just meet expectations.
Yeah,
and if he meets expectations and Joe Barry learns how to coach a defense, the Packers can be middle of the road again, especially if they're heavily reliant on the run game. 5-6 wins is like worst case scenario. Jordan Love sucks and Joe Barry still does his thing, but you win a couple games because of that run game. And that's kind of the big thing with the Packers this year is the run game. That's what I'm looking for from them. That's what I'm expecting from them. I think they're going to be a team that has more carries than anybody else, at least top 3 in the league. And I think 12 personnel and 22 personnel are kind of going to be their saving grace this year. So
yeah.
That being said, unless there's anything we didn't cover that you guys want to bring up, which I would assume not, considering we've been here for almost 100 minutes.
Yeah, I'm all set there, yeah.
I'll say this. Sometime before the season, I'm getting a Jair jersey because I don't have any current player jerseys. It's making me mad. I have this jersey and I have Clay Matthews, so I need.
You have a Mitch Trubisky jersey, but you don't have a current Packers player jersey. How's that make you feel?
Well,
stay tuned for the video on my TikTok where I put all 32 teams on a piece of paper with a treat, and I'll let my dog pick what team he's a fan of.
That's basically what I'm doing with my TikTok.
I'm gonna limit it though. I don't know if I can put 32 treats out for him.
You have to.
That's true. I think I'm gonna do that. I gotta let Scout decide. But yeah, I'm all good.
But yeah, with that, if you guys want to plug anything, you're more than welcome to. Just to kind of close us out here.
My Twitter and my TikTok are both NFLSteven with no spaces. I'm on Twitter way too much, so follow me.
Yeah. Just Jake Talk Sports 3 on Twitter, Jake Talk Sports 03 on TikTok, and obviously Golf Out Run the North. Cheap plug there, but yeah, that's my big thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I couldn't get the first or second Jake Talk Sports on here, but I'm glad I could find the third. I'm glad you agreed and I didn't have to go to the fourth. But that being said, that's going to do it for this team preview. Like we said, or like they said, make sure to go follow them on all their stuff. It'll all be in the link or in the description down below. My words are starting to run together. That's how you can tell we've been talking for too long. And make sure to follow Run the North, me and Jake, and then the Geek Slays, who will be on our Vikings episode,
Let
which
me on.
should be the next one. And hopefully Steven at
cook.
some point we'll all be there. You can check us out. We post weekly episodes. We've got some interviews with actual NFL players coming up on there this offseason. And I say players because of a certain thing that happened on Twitter yesterday. I think I might be able to swing something. But yeah, make sure to let us know down in the comments below what your expectations are for the Packers. If you think they're going to meet the high expectations, low expectations, somewhere in the middle, whatever it may be, just let us know down in the comments. And make sure to leave a like down below if you enjoyed, and subscribe, because I am going to be covering all 32 NFL teams. This is the second of 32, so I've got a long road ahead of me. But thankfully, I don't have to do too much editing for these videos. Jesus Christ, I cannot talk. So I'm going to go ahead and close out here. To everyone out there watching, and of course the two lovely gentlemen that joined me for this, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it, because you're all wonderful people and you deserve it. And of course, because it's June, please remember, love is love.